All right, listen up, because today is a huge day for the crypto market. This is it, the final trading day of the tax loss season. And that means months of selling pressure could just stop. We're going to break down what that means for your portfolio right now. Welcome to Daily Crypto Edge. So the date is Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. And you need to understand this isn't just another Tuesday, it's the deadline. This is the very last chance for traders to lock in those tax losses, and frankly, that's what's been holding the market down for weeks. So what is tax loss harvesting? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Traders sell their losing assets to get a nice little tax break. But here's the kicker. That pressure, that artificial weight on the market, it literally expires today. The sellers are running out of road, and you know what that means? All that buying demand that's been sitting on the sidelines, well, it could be about to come roaring back. And get this, we're already seeing the first signs of life. The fear and greed index just popped up to 26. Now, yeah, that's still fear, I get it. But what's really important is that we're finally out of extreme fear for the first time in 3 weeks. That's a huge tell. It's a classic signal that traders are starting to position themselves for the January effect. You know, when all that new year, new money comes flooding in. Okay, let's kick things off with the big one, Bitcoin. It is absolutely leading the charge right now, and honestly, it's at a make or break point, pushing up against some serious resistance. Right now, Bitcoin is sitting around $89,150. That's up a solid 1.4% in the last day. The price action just feels coiled, like a spring just ready to pop. Okay, let's get into the technicals because this is where it gets really interesting. First off, we're squeezing into the tip of a falling wedge pattern, and if you know your charts, you know that usually breaks to the upside. On top of that, we're knocking on the door of the 20-day EMA. That's a key trend line, right around 89.5. If we can get a solid close above that, that basically kills the recent bearish trend. Plus, you've got the RSI climbing and the MACD about to flash a buy signal. Put it all together, and a clean breakout puts $94,000 right in our sights. And look, this isn't just wishful thinking on a chart. The on-chain data is screaming bullish. For Bitcoin, a massive $400 million in stablecoins just moved to exchanges. That's pure rocket fuel, just waiting to get deployed. We're seeing the shark wallets, the guys holding 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin, they're buying. And the best part? Funding rates are flat. That means this is a spot-driven rally. Real money buying real Bitcoin, not a bunch of risky leverage. That's a healthy move. And over on the Ethereum side, it's a similar story of strength. DeFi is booming, and the big players have stopped selling. They're just holding on tight. All right, let's pivot over to Ethereum, because while Bitcoin is trying to break down the door, ETH is doing something just as important. It's building an incredibly strong foundation for its next big move. So ETH is trading around 26.85, up about 1.7%. And what a recovery it's had, bouncing right off that 24.40 level like a trampoline. I mean, just look at this chart. This is what you want to see. Ethereum is just coiling up, building energy in a tight range. We call it flagging, right under that big psychological number of 2,700. It's using that 10-day moving average as a launch pad. The RSI is bullish, over 50. So really, all eyes are now on the next big test, that 50-day moving average up at 2850. Okay, so the setup looks fantastic, right? But hey, we're traders. We don't just cross our fingers and hope. We plan for everything. So let's break down the most likely scenarios for the next 48 hours. So we're basically looking at 3 possibilities here. The most likely, our base case, is a breakout. We're giving that a 70% chance. Then there's a 20% chance we just chop around sideways for a bit. And you always have to be prepared for the worst case, that 10% chance of a rug pull, a sudden sharp drop. So let's talk about scenario A, the big one. The thesis is simple. Tonight, that tax loss selling just vanishes. It's gone. At the exact same time, the smart money starts buying before the January 1st institutional cash rush. What's the result? Bitcoin blows past 90K and ETH takes a serious shot at 2,800. All right, scenario B. This one's a bit less exciting, but it could definitely happen. The idea here is that the big market makers want to keep the price pinned in a tight range. Why? So all those expiring options contracts go to zero. It would just mean a boring sideways grind into the new year. And finally, scenario C, the rug pull. This is our low probability risk. Something would have to come out of left field. Some unexpected bad news on the macro front that causes a hard rejection right where we are now. It's not likely, but you know what? This is exactly why we always have a stop loss.
Which brings us to the most important part. What do you actually do? Let's get into the actionable game plan, looking at the exact zones to trade for both Bitcoin and ETH.
All right, here's the playbook. For Bitcoin, we're playing the breakout. You're looking for an entry between, say, 88.5 and 89,000. Your stop loss is firm at 85.5. You got to project your downside. And we're targeting 94,000 on the upside. Now, for Ethereum, it's a bit different. We're going to scale in. You can start buying in this range between 2640 and 2680. The stop goes just below that recent low at 2,500, and we're looking for 2950 as our take profit.
And make sure you're watching the clock today. We've got two huge moments coming up. First, 2100 UTC, that's the US market close and the official end of the tax selling season. Then, at midnight UTC, the Asia markets open. That's the first real chance for the New Year money to start making its move. Expect some fireworks. Okay, before we wrap this up, I want you to listen closely to this next part. It's the most important thing I'll say today. Remember, these are probabilities, not guarantees. Risk management is your only edge. If you want daily crypto market reports and tips for trading, subscribe to Trade Compass and turn on the notifications. Hit that bell so you never miss a move.